So, yep, that's a quick introduction about myself. I'll just go across with the slides. Right. Right. So in Ivanti, basically, what do we have? There's you're comfortable. Can I start? Just wanted to know.
Okay, so couple of things.
Hmm.
Will we get a recording of this?
I think it's already been recorded.
Okay, fine. So Harish Amman will be sharing the recording, I believe.
Yeah, they will be recording it and providing you the links.
Okay, will you be providing documents, kind of PDF or something?
I will check across because Ivanti normally they don't give us any document. I do have some documents, a bit old, but it's quite similar. You'll get
Thank you.
the. Yep.
Okay, Siva, like, whoever is, responsible, I'm not able to log in from my personal laptop with the user ID and password I have been provided with.
Okay, this Shiva here, so you should contact Harish, I believe. I'm not
Yeah,
the one
means
responsible
I'm
for
not
that.
sure, who
Yeah, yeah.
is
I'm
authorized.
just pointing you to the right direction. So Harish, can you help me?
Yeah,
Uh,
possibly if you can share the screenshot on the chat window.
Because I am connected from my personal laptop.
Brief introduction here. So we will be primarily considering our four environments. In fact, three to be honest. And so primarily you'll be working on this. This is the main part in. So these are the four main components of the software, and it was basically being initiated by Appsense. That was the founder of this company, and they considered this particular product as desktop now. Okay, now after Lendesk has taken over Appsense and they have converted into Ivanti, and they have changed the software name as well from desktop now to UWM. It's basically user workspace management. Okay, so if you want to go into Ivanti website and search for anything, you have to search with user workplace management. Okay, so these are the four main components of the Ivanti software, that is UWM. And these are the two extra things that are being provided nowadays with the Ivanti. There is the file directory and the inside. We are not going to create any software or look into this part, as and also in State Street you do not have this too, because this too requires a special license from the Ivanti end. Okay. Right. So if I go with the product feature, since I told you that we have four components, okay, and guys, if you do not understand anything, please stop me there and do ask your questions. Okay. So management center, if I go with, then let me go with the previous slide. It will be better for you guys to understand. So if I go with this management center, okay, it basically is how you control your the machines. Okay, so since you guys are from Citrix, if I can give you an example, like in Studio, how you control all the machines. So this is particular console where you can control the machines to deploy the agents. Like you have a VDA agent in your Citrix, we have Ivanti agents in our this particular product. Okay, and this is management center is the one where you control the endpoints, in which groups it should be, which are the agents it needs to be pushed on, what are the configurations you need to be pushed. Okay, then the next component we have is our application control. So this is basically for the restrictions or for the security purposes, like what are all the exes which you can block for the user, what are all the urls that you can block for the users, then certain certificates if you want to publish it, or maybe some file directory, some folder. So once you install this application control in your environment, it basically blocks everything until unless you go and do some sort of configurations. We will come to it when we do with our practicals in application control. Okay. Next is your environment manager. So environment manager is basically divided into two parts. One is your policy configuration, the other is your personalization. As someone just said that they have done a few things like reset profile and all, that is being done using user personalization. Okay. And user personalization is nothing but whatever you do, you save it in the database. Okay. Now we define from our end what are the things that you will get saved for you. That is user personalization. The policy configuration is something where you do the settings. Like suppose you are being asked like, can you please change the wallpaper of this particular machines or this particular AD group of users, or you need to push some shortcuts, or you need to map a drive, map a printer. So we will go through all the settings, all the actions that can be done from environment manager. But just to give you an overview, this is the divided into two parts: policy and user personalization. Okay. Then we have the performance manager. So performance manager is basically for increasing the performance of your machines. So like suppose you have a server machines, as we know multiple users will log in into that particular server, right? So if you want to limit particular users or particular application to certain memory or certain memory, say physical memory as well, or certain CPUs, then you can do it via performance manager. You can control the thread throttling as well for the OS, like how many threads should be attached to a particular process, how long it can run. So this is something that can done with the help of performance manager. Yeah. This two I'm leaving it out currently. So uh, guys, did you just understand or anything that you want to ask in this? Okay,
So
I
far, so
think
good.
yeah. Okay, right. So as I said,
So, oh, sorry to
yeah,
interrupt.
yeah, yeah,
So
go
you
ahead.
have, so all the features mentioned over there, will it be controlled from one centralized console or they have their own controls?
They have all of them. They have their own consoles. They will
Okay,
have their own configuration files, which will be pushed on the management center. Okay.
okay, fine, fine.
Yeah.
So management center is a centralized console or no?
Now it's also a centralized console. You can say it as a somewhat centralized console, but it has its own console. Okay, where you control all the configurations of environment manager, application control, and performance manager.
Okay, fine.
It will be more clear when we do the labs.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said, the management center. So package management, what we do is basically, as I said, the configurations that will be pushed out. Then you can see how the deployment agents and policies on the endpoints. So benefits, as you can see, it says the single point of management for UWM packages, because you have one sort of console where you can push out which particular revisions also you can put it on the machine. Suppose you have pushed out a change, okay? Say there's already change going on with number of versions, say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Uh, okay, let me give an example. Like if you have vdisk, right? So you have you have versioning control in vdisk. So if you have any problem, what you do, you revert back to the previous vdisk, right? So this is the similar thing that we can do with the packages. But yes, with vdisk obviously you have to do a lot of stuff. You have to go to, you have to power up machine, you have to assign it, and then when you reboot, then it comes up. With this you do not have this problem. You can just simply revert it, just ask the user to log off and log in, and that's it. It will work out. Next is the auditing. So suppose you are doing some sort of like, someone comes up and says that okay, it is not working for me, and the shortcuts that you have pushed out is not working. For other people it is working, it's not for me. So you can enable the auditing of that particular means for the from the management console, and you can see what are the things that are being audited for that particular user or particular machine as well. Okay. From user perspective there is a other way of doing it, but from the machine perspective you can do it with the help of auditing. So suppose I say the login actions are not working, or how much time does it take, because normally what it happens is someone will come to you and they will start saying that the Appsense is taking longer time for login process, so the login time has increased. So what you can do is you can enable the auditing, then you can see the amount of time it takes for the login process. Each and everything will be noted down. Okay. So it's a similar thing that has been mentioned. Yes, license has been managed through management center. There are few other ways of doing it as well. Like if you do not want management center in your environment, then what you can do is you can remove management center and you can install the license with the help of an MSI as well. So if you go and ask the vendor that I need a MSI copy, they'll provide you an MSI copy. And if you want them for a .lic file, they will provide you a .lic file. So in that scenario, if you have the management center, you're controlling everything to it. You can just assign the license in your management center. It will be published through all the desktops. Okay. Compliance control is, as I said, the reportings can be done and how the versioning you can control. That is nothing but the compliance control. Okay. DB maintenance. Yeah, so this is something new feature that has come up with Ivanti. So what basically does like we are doing some auditing, right? We are creating auditings, we are doing reports. So it basically increases your database size. When you do it, the number of events that gets increases. So previously what used to happen is we have to go to the database team, we have to ask them, please run this query, see how what is the data of the output, and then you have to run a delete action. So now what they have done is they have created a new what do you say, a new feature in maintenance in management center. That is basically it will you can schedule up the deletion of the machines or the events that are being generated in the app management center. So it basically it clears up the database and we do not need the help of the database team. So that's a big relief actually. Right. I will. Okay. Anything here that you want to ask, or shall I move with next? Okay. I take silence as a no. So as I said, environment manager is divided into two parts: policy and personalization. So policy, as I said, it you may see here only 3 points, but trust me, this is the one that you will be working on more and in any organizations. And the conditions are there are lots of conditions, there are lots of actions, and there are a lot of trigger points. So trigger points are nothing but like the login process are also being divided into three part. Then you can run it at computer startup, or maybe see session locked, session unlocked, when the network is connected. So you have different options in environment manager when you want the action to be run. Like if I give you an example, like suppose you have changed the VPN, okay, and you want that when this particular VPN is being connected, you want this particular registry setting for the user. So what you can do is at the network connected node, you can just write a script over there, like check for this particular network. If it's get connected, then this particular registry should be marked. So these are the different types of trigger points, conditions, and actions that we can do. Okay. Okay, it will be a bit confusing. We'll do it in the labs, it will be more clear. Next is the personalization part. So someone just said they used to clear personalization. So that is a very basic level of work that we do in personalization. Okay. So when you clear out the personalization, is basically there are two types of personalizations: application and Windows personalizations. Those are being assigned to a different groups inside the Ivanti. Okay. So suppose if I say there are particular US users, there are particular UK users, and let's take two examples. Now someone will come up to you and say that for US users we do not want to personalize, say we want to personalize only 16 Outlook 2000 Outlook 365. Okay. And UK users, they are using say Outlook 2010. So yes, what you can do is you can create groups and you can define different personalization for each and every groups. One thing very clear that I want to tell you here is, see, there will be people who will come up to you and say that it's not working. Okay. That personalization is being when you clear personalization, it's working. So it's very normal. Okay. Like in Citrix you have the option of the local profile creation, right? uh, what was the name? Sorry, I just forgot. The local profile creation, what was it said? Anyone can just speak something. What was the name of that?
Your UPM you're referring to?
UPM. Yes, sorry, I just forgot that
Okay.
term. UPM. So you had the UPM, and in that their problem was that you had to go and reset the profile every time. You used to do it as .old, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it used to get corrupted. Now, what is the difference between that personalization and this personalization is there you have a local copy somewhere being stored in the shared location, okay, which used to get often, it used to get, the size used to get big, and you have to, now when it's get downloaded, it gets corrupted. So there were lots of issues with UPM. So they have come up with this personalization thing where what happens is it stores in the database. There is no shared location here. And you define the stuffs that you want to store it in a personalization. Suppose for say Adobe. Okay. So for Adobe application, there are a number of registries, right? Or there are file systems. Say in local app data, you have files. Then local app data temp, you have files. Okay. So what you will do is you go and you say that you go and say in personalization that whenever Adobe is run, save the files which are present in local app data, Adobe. Okay. And you exclude out the local app data Adobe temp. So it will not save the temp data. It will save only the local app data Adobe location. So this is the benefit that you get in personalization. Plus, it's since it's stored in the database, the communication is a lot faster. One more important thing here is that whatever, it's not something that you save it, you only define the location. Okay, if user saves the corrupt file over there, the corrupt file will get saved in the database. If user saves the correct file, the correct file will get saved in the database. It's not something that you control, you only define the location, and whatever user saves in that location, that will get reflected at the database. Am I clear in this part? This is very important because there will be people coming up to you and saying that when we clear personalization, it's working. Okay, and you people will start scratching your head like, what is wrong here? So you need to understand this point that it's something that you do not save it. It's the user who saves it. Yes, there can be configuration mistakes. Like you have to exclude some folders. Say, like as I said, you have local app data Adobe. Now it is getting corrupted over time. So if you go and analyze it and you understand that okay, if I exclude local app data Adobe temp, it's working. So this is something that you will have to understand, you will have to analyze with time, and obviously with experience you will be able to know that. But that is the configuration part, but you do not save the data. It's the user who save it. This is a very important thing that you need to know. Okay. Any questions in this?
Can you come back on the last point? You said we do not save this.
Yes, as I said, like I have given an example, right? Say local app data, Adobe. So this is the
Uh-huh.
folder location that I have mentioned in the personalization.
Okay.
So whatever user saves in that folder, local app data Adobe, that will
Mm.
get reflected at the database. So if the user saves a corrupt file in that particular location, that corrupt file will get saved in the database.
Mm. Got it.
Correct?
Okay.
So this is very important. And in I hope you all know your project, right? You all are in stage suite, I believe, or they are from different projects.
No,
Mostly.
we are from different projects, so
Oh,
we
different
will.
projects. Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I will not because since I was in state street, so I thought like I'll just give you some tips and tricks. But yeah, since you all are from different, then I won't. I'll take it as a general one.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Kishan.
Yep.
Vinay from Spring People.
Yeah, Vinay.
So looks like you are unable to access the lab.
Yes.
Can you please share the screen and show that?
Yeah, it's already being shared.
Hmm. Just to open the lab window. No, no, is the new lab assigned to you today? Because this was a test machine.
No, I haven't seen this. I connect with this only.
Okay, this was a test machine which was used for cloning. So today we have a new lab.
So can this test machine be enabled for me?
No, we have the same copy of the test machine for everybody. So new credentials are there.
Okay.
Just a second,
Did
let me check.
yeah. All right, guys. Someone was asking something about personalization, or is it okay? Can I move to next slide?
Yeah, you can know.
Right. Right. So application control. So I will go through thorough on this, okay? Because since it's like a global uh, training, so the application control, as I said, how we do it on the exe, we store it, then we restrict the users from using exes or urls or certificates, something like that. So why this is required, as you can see, because of security there will be people who will be running scripts, right? So they will come up and they say that no, we do not want anyone to use this, okay? And from license perspective as well, so suppose there is a software, say say visual studio, okay, Microsoft Visual Studio. And obviously Microsoft Visual Studio is software which not being used often by all the people. There will be a few sets of users who will be using it. So if you are deploying that particular software on the machine, everyone, but you want only specific people to use it, so in that scenario, what you can do is we will go in application control, we will block the exe for all the users, and then we will give access only to a particular set of users. So we can probably create a AD group for that, and we can ask like we'll ask the customer, you can create a AD group, say Visual Studio users, something like that, and then we will go and we will add that particular AD group in application control, and we will give access only to Visual Studio for that particular AD group only. So this is how you can restrict the user from running any exe, okay? So what will happen is any other user who is not a part of that AD group, they, even if they try to launch that exe, it will give them a prompt stating that they are not allowed to use this particular exe as per security, and the message and all that you can set it up as per your own. I will show you how to set that up, okay? uh, Similar way for exes you can do it. For urls you can provide some elevation access, and you can do it at different trigger points. As I said, we can do it on AD group, we can do it on the basis of some computers, we can do it on the basis of processes as well. As we see that sometimes what happens when you launch, say, particular software, it will ask for an update. So the backend, there is an MSI which runs, there are some DLL which needs access. So what we can do is we can mention that particular process, like whenever this particular process runs, say Chrome for an example, it gets updated at the backend sometimes. So what we'll do is we'll mention the process, like whenever Chrome is run, please allow the exes and the DLLs. So at the backend, it will get run for the user. Okay. Guys, you got a little bit of idea about application control. Any questions?
So we are using only this application control to restrict any user to login, right? To
Yes.
restrict to a particular.
Not
So
login.
it is. Uh,
Not login. Only for controlling the exes, URLs. Not for login. It's not
okay.
for used for restricting in login.
Okay. Then for create multiple condition means like we have any other options. Like I
Yes.
didn't understand.
Okay, see, there's a console, as I said, right, for management center, for environment
Yes.
manager, for, so when you open up this particular console, application control, you will have the options over there. Okay, I'll show you in the lab what are the consoles and how you can do it. But yes, you do have options over there on how you can
Okay.
create the conditions.
Okay.
Yeah. Right. All right. I'll move on to next then. So next is the performance manager. So as I said, you can control the amount of CPU being given to a particular process, say amount of memory, the thread throttling. So performance manager is something which is very dicey thing. It can either increase the performance of your environment to a considerable extent, or it can even decrease the performance. Okay, so you have to be very careful, and this is not something that you touch often. It's something that you do it, you place it in the environment, and very rarely you will try to update this particular configuration. Okay, because this is something that uh, it's a bit dicey. Okay, because how you use it, it's very careful. You have to be very careful. You have to take a lot of data before using the performance manager. Okay, why I'm saying this? Because say I'll give you an example how it can be beneficial as well. So suppose you're using a HSD, okay, hosted shared desktops in Citrix. So you have say license of 16 7 20 users. All right, so 20 users log into a particular machine, one machine, 20 users. Now out of that, suppose two users are using say AutoCAD for an example. AutoCAD, it's a very heavy software. It uses lots of your memory, CPU, and uh, your graphics, everything, right? So it takes a lot of the resources from your machine, correct? So out of 20 users, if two users are using AutoCAD at a very extensive level, the other 18 users will be facing some issues, right? Yes, no? Guys, are you getting the point
Yes.
here? So to limit this, what we can do is to just to maintain a uniformity, say that the other 18 users do not face this problem. What we can do is we will create a restriction on AutoCAD. Suppose like when AutoCAD is being used, then only say 20% of the memory is being used, or say 5 CPU is being used. So this is how you can restrict it. Okay, so that whenever, so what will happen now, only when these users use AutoCAD, they will use only 20% of the CPU. So rest, even they do any extensive work, they will be using only that much percentage only. They cannot use it more than that since you have restricted it. So this will increase the performance of the other 18 users as well as those 20 users if they are not using AutoCAD apart from AutoCAD. Okay, so this is where you have the advantage, but there is a disadvantage as well, because if you limit it to a look say certain percentage where AutoCAD cannot even run, then it will crash. So suppose it needs say at least 25 to 30% of the memory, and you have defined it only at 20%. So what will happen? It won't be able to find enough resources, and it will immediately crash for that particular user. Did you get the point here, guys? Everyone?
Yes, Krishan.
Okay. All right. So, and regarding CPU thread throttling, so how it works out is like, see, when you are running an OS, every process that you run, there are threads attached to each processes, right? It's the operating system stuff that I'm telling you. It's not something related to performance manager or Appsense. So when you run any application in an environment, there are threads attached to it. And what happens is there will be multiple threads attached even when the threads are not required. So when you see your machine gets hanged, okay, in a normal machine, you will see multiple. You have opened up 5 6 processes, and suddenly it get hangs. What happens is that the processes, the threads which are attached to each processor, they are being outnumbered. Why? Because suppose you open Chrome, there are say 10 processes, the 10 threads that are attached to that process to make it run. Then you have open up Word, then you have attached 10 threads in that. Okay, this is operating, it gets attached automatically. However, it needs only say 5, but still 10 will get attached to it, and your machine gets hanged. So what happens when the first process that you have run, say Chrome, once that process is completed, the threads are being released from that particular application and they are being attached to the different applications. That's why when it get hangs, we have to wait so that the process is completed. Then we have to, then it moves to other process, and then we have the window in front of us. Okay. So what we can do is this thread throttling is what we can do is we can define limits. Like suppose I have set it up to say 90%. Okay. So whenever the memory or the CPU reaches 90%, it will start clamping up the extra threads that are attached to each and every process. So
Uh,
uh,
Harish sir,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I hope you received a mail for the lab credentials.
Is it for me?
Yes.
Okay, I will just check that if you have. So yeah, so that is a bit difficult. So you never know when state shield will come up and say that we need this particular thing. Okay. So yep. Is this part clear? Performance manager. What is the advantage and disadvantage of it? Okay, I'll go with the next slide then. I just want to show you the architecture here, how it works, how the communication happens between the endpoint, database, the servers that we have. Okay. So for application control, EM, and the performance manager. So how it works is you have an application console. As I said, the servers basically. Okay. So if I take it with the help of Citrix, you have a controller server, right? With you, the studio. So you can consider this particular as the studio where you have the console of each and every application, say EM for AM as well as for performance manager. Okay. So you will have all the configurations over there where you can go ahead and do the configuration on the, like how you do it in the studio, you add the machines on a delivery group, you publish it. Similar way you will do it here. This particular thing, this will get installed on the endpoints, and from there you will have the agents, like you have the VDA agents on the machines, Citrix machines, the desktops, say hosted shares or the non-persistent or persistent machines. Similar way, you will have the application Ivanti agents. Now the agents are for each and every console. You have different agents. Okay, for EM you have an EM agent. For AC you have an agent. For performance manager also you have an agent. So all three are being controlled by different agents. You'll have services for this as well. Okay. Now the management center components, similar way. So management console, how it will work, it will have an agent on the endpoint. Okay. The communication will happen over the IIS, and it will communicate with the database. It will have all, as I said, all the packages and everything that we do on the management center, those will be saved in the database. Now what will happen when the endpoints, when the user logs in, okay, the agent will communicate with the database with the help of IIS, and it will retrieve all the configuration packages which are present in the database on the user's machine. Now on the users machines you can save it with different areas, like you can save it as an MSI, you can save it as a configuration file as well. So once you define that, it will get downloaded on your machine, and from there it will start working. What are the things that are required, what are the things that are being defined for you in that configuration as an individual. Okay. Okay. Now the personalization configuration, similar way, you will have a personalization config, you will have a folder over there which will have all the details about the personalizations that are being stored for you on that particular say application. Okay. So you have say Office, you have Adobe, you have say Chrome, then you have Edge. You will define everything over there, and those things will get saved in the database at the initial point with the help of user personalization that we configure on the management console, management servers, and from there it will get downloaded on the user's machine, and then it will start working with the help of the XML file which is present over there. It will have all the data of what is being configured on the management server. Okay. And this communication will happen with the help of IIS. Okay. Right. So this is how the configuration works. So if you see here
So
at the
sorry,
yep,
Christian. So,
yep, go
so
ahead.
the management console server will be IIS enabled, like the role will be
Yes,
installed. Okay.
yes, IIS has to be installed. Without IIS, the software itself will not install on your machine.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, guys?
Could you please go back, Kishan,
Yep,
once?
sure.
Could
This
you please
one?
explain this one? What is the
Okay.
explain?
See, what I said is like in the EM console, as I said, there are two parts, right? One is policy, one is your user personalization, right? So the personalization that you configure on that particular management server, that settings will get saved in the database. So what will happen when the user logs in on the machine, it will contact the database with the help of IIS. It will download a file which will have all the configurations that are being defined in the personalization on that particular machine. Okay, now if you have certain conditions in that, those will also get downloaded on the particular machine. Okay, and then as per those rules, the personalization will work for that user. Am I
Understand
clear?
something like an ICA file will be downloaded, right? On the
Yes,
end
yes, you
user
can
machine.
say exactly something like that. You can similar like ICA file will get downloaded. The ICA file will have different settings, right? You can
Application.
sometimes you can change it, the keyboard layouts, the
Mhm.
language. So that particular ICA file will work as per the whatever it gets downloaded. So similar way, the configuration file will get downloaded, and then it will work out with the help of that.
So whenever a user is logging on an endpoint, only the environment manager will be only taking into effect, right? Application control, whatever we are doing, it's for only for administration purpose only, right?
No,
Sorry,
see,
management
no, see, this is
center.
the personalization that I told you, right? So if I go one slide back, so this will have, if I go one more slide back, so here as I said that you can see here AC, EM and PM, right? So application control, environment manager and performance manager. I said all three have their own agent, right? See, application
Right.
agents installed on endpoint. So all the three configurations will get downloaded. You can see here we have three consoles, so each will have their own configuration file that will get saved in the database, and from database it will get downloaded on the endpoints, and then the agents will work on that. So suppose you have downloaded the configuration but you do not have the agent on the machine, then it will not work.
Okay.
Okay.
So that agent is the broker between your console and the database, huh?
Yeah, it's
That
like
will
a
be doing.
VDA agent in Citrix,
Mhm.
similar to that.
So when you are saying it will be downloaded on the endpoint machine,
Mhm.
which protocol or which service is going and getting that to be downloaded on the endpoint?
It will
Is that
use the, it is IIS which will get which will be the broker in between.
okay?
Like
IIS will
you have,
be
yes, it will be the IIS will be the broker. Like in you have the in Citrix you have what Citrix XML broker.
that's what I'm
Yeah.
XML service only will be doing,
Yes.
right?
In, yeah, in Citrix you have the XML broker. Here we have the IIS. If you do not have the IIS, then it will not. It's not going to get communicated.
Mhm. Okay. So for
Right?
all the environments, IIS is the key component. So it is acting as
Yes.
a broker.
Yes.
So
You
coming
can
to
see here.
first one, management center, this component.
Mhm. Mhm.
On the endpoint, what exactly this will do? Management component, the IIS will be, this will also be downloading the configurations. Huh?
So, see, as I said, there are four components, right? So there will be
Mhm.
four agents: management center, EM agent, then there will be AC agent, and there will be one PM agent, right? We
Yeah.
have four agents. So three, as I told you in the previous slide, right? Three, all this. So these are being used for the communication for the endpoint, means for the configuration which is present on the machine, right? For the EM configuration, then you have for the AC configuration, then you have for the PM configuration, right? So those three agents are responsible for working of the configurations. Now this particular agent, the management console agent, it is required to communicate between the console, means the like suppose the studio and the endpoint. Okay, in Citrix you have the studio, right? And you have the HSDs, then you have the NP and P machines. So those communicates, the studio, what it does, it you basically add the machines on the studio, you create delivery groups, right?
Correct.
So similar to that, you have a management center where you add machines in that, you assign policies in that, you assign configurations in that, and that gets reflected on the endpoint. So you can somewhat
Collections,
correlate
device
with that.
collections, information, something.
Device collections,
The
yes,
information.
you can say.
Okay, got it.
And this communication will happen over IIS.
I, around 7 years back, it is AM, right? Now it is become AC, right?
Yes, it was
It's in Appsense.
application. Yes, it was application manager. Now after the overtake, they have changed it to application control.
Earlier we used to say AM, PM, EM. 7 years
Yes,
back. Now it
exactly.
became AC.
I also have this habit. Sometimes I do say it as AM, then I suddenly remember, okay, it's AC now.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
Krishnan, I have another question. Like
yep.
all these management server will be, will be connecting each other through IIS. But like, when I talk about user profile, that is
Mm-hmm.
also, working on IIS protocol. Like,
Yes.
okay.
So that will say if I go here, this is the personalization component. This will also work as you can see here, IIS, it works as the
Mhm.
broker agent. So basically in database, you will have two databases. One will be your personalization database, one will be your management database. The management database will control all the configurations, the AM, EM, AC, EM, and PM. So these three configurations that you create, that will get stored in the management database. Management database will also have the machine details, the events that you created, the reports that you generate. Everything will stored in the management database. Personalization database will save the user data. Like as I said, whatever is stored in that particular folder, right? The Adobe example that I gave you. Like if a corrupt file is saved in that particular local app data Adobe, that will get
Mhm.
saved in the database. So that will get saved in the personalization database.
Okay. And
So there are
if you
two
if
data.
you can, you can cover up little bit, Outlook profile, because I saw a lot of things out there to be in State Street environment. So you can like.
See, if I go with State Street, the environment there is very complicated. Okay, and
Mhm.
thing is like they use VHD concept over there for Outlook. Okay, and for personalization also the problem with State is that they have two different environments, but it's completely different with one another, and it's like the synchronization happens every 1 hour between them. That is the biggest problem in State. So what happens is like, suppose you are logged into say US zone, you log
Mhm.
in
Mhm.
and you log out of from there. Okay, you do some configurations, you log out. That will get saved in the US database. Okay,
Mhm.
now the next time you log in, it's not necessary that you will get logged in on the US only. You can get logged into some other zone of US that will have a different database.
Mhm.
uh,
Mhm.
so what happens is like you log off, then you log back in after 5 minutes and you suddenly get logged into a different data center. You will have the configuration from that particular database. Okay,
Right. Every
and
zone has dedicated database, right?
yes, and the synchronization happens every 1 hour, which is not a recommended process from Ivanti. They say it should run only once in a day in 24 hours, and in State they are doing it like
No, I agree, Krishnan, because I don't want to,
yeah.
you have all the insights, right? If you just, give us the download, that will be really helpful, right? As of now, Ivanti itself is a, alien language for us, alien tool for us. So, so that's why I was just, anyway, maybe
No,
I was
no.
asking too early.
Yeah, see, it's a bit complicated, but this is something that has been agreed with State Street.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
is the thing. So, but users don't know this. So if you get incidents, you have someone, because there are some people like who will come up to you and say it's not working. I just logged off and logged in, and now whatever things I have saved over there, say I've configured some settings in Outlook. Okay, I went to view and I checked up some columns.
Mm-hmm.
It's and I just logged off and I logged in back, and it's not working for me. And the reason behind that being very simple, that the databases are completely different. Now if you log in after 1 hour, then what will
Mm-hmm.
happen, the synchronization will take place. So if you log in anywhere, be it US West Zone, East Zone, South Zone, so you will have the configuration.
Okay.
So that is where the problem lies actually.
So
And
So
yes,
basically, you were saying like, whenever we get this, user profile related issues where users are, connecting to different zone, we will have to concentrate on SQL database synchronization. Probably SQL team will be able to give us more insight.
no, SQL team can't do this because they are only meant to maintain the database. It's something that you have to do. So there is a geosync. I will
Mm-hmm.
show you how to do that. We can't do it in this particular environment. We do not have a separate database for that because this training session, it's a limited one, right? We do not have an enterprise level infrastructure over there. So for that you need different zones to configure, but I will show you what exactly is being done.
Yes, please, please.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and also in this particular session we do not have the license, so I will show you all the actions, all the conditions, but we won't be able to see the outcome of that because we do not have a license of this. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Why I
And
am bringing this to your light, because at least when we are seeing the environment, so that we can correlate what is happening, because
definitely
everything. Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
I will try to give you as much as possible because I've also left State Street around it has been 4 or 5 months back. I left Wipro, so
Oh, oh.
it's a bit okay. So this part is clear, right? The
Yep.
personalization part. Okay. So this is the infrastructure of how we will communicate. So this is the client endpoint. You can see here all the three agents over here communicate. So this is the desktop laptop. Now one thing, see, these are the desktop laptops right here. Since a single user is using it, we are not using the PM here. See, the PM is being there, showing it only on the VDI, because only on VDIs we will have multiple logins, right? So there PM can be used, but desktop, it is, you can use it, but there's no point in using a PM in desktop laptops, right? Because there is a single user who will be using on a Windows 10 machine, so there's no point in doing it. Okay, so you can see here with desktops and laptops, so what is happening is it will go through the load balancer. So this is the management console VIP, this is the personalization server VIP. So these VIPs will get reflected on the endpoint. So the endpoint will have the registry for this particular VIPs. This will communicate over the IIS to management center. See, there is management center here, it's IIS is configured here. Now this particular IIS on the personalization is also here. The consoles will also get saved over here. You can see, right? The management console, the all the three consoles over here, and the personalization is saved over here. So this is the personalization console which will be present here on the personalization server. You can save it here as well, but since there is a particular different database itself, so we prefer to do it here. Okay. So all the consoles will be saved here. Its communication will happen over IIS. Then it will go back to SQL. It will fetch the data. From here, it will download it to the endpoint, both management as well as the personalization one. Okay.
Can you just, come again? Like I couldn't get it. Means
Yeah.
I couldn't grasp it.
See. So this is the endpoint, right? This is the client tier, as you can see. People can see my mouse, right, hovering here.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
So you can see here the client tier mentioned. So these are the endpoints. Okay. So as I said, since these are the desktops and laptops, so since a single user will be using it, there is no point in configuration performance manager here. Okay, because single user, right? No point in restricting for particular applications and all. But in VDIs, since multiple users will be logged in, so you can have performance manager over here. Okay, to increase the performance of the VDI. Now this is the endpoint. So you'll have a load balancing. So it can be done via WIP as well, and you can do it via single servers as well. You can mention it over here. So when you install the agents on this particular machine, right? This client communication agent, EM agent, this, then it will have a WIP installed in it. Means it will ask you how do you want to communicate with the management servers. These are the management servers. These are the personalization server. At that point of time, we can either mention the names directly, or we can mention it like this is the WIP that we will be using it.
Okay.
Okay. So the WIPs, so suppose you have hundreds of management servers, so you can just mention the WIP over here, and you will have in the WIP you can bind all the management server. So that will get auto balanced right from the WIP itself. Then similar way you will have for personalization as well. It will ask you for the URL. You can either give the WIP or you can mention the personalization servers. So what will happen is once the communication is done, once the machine logs in, it will start up. It will check out the WIP. Okay, it will find okay this is the WIP mentioned. Let me communicate via WIP to the management server. The management server in turn will communicate with the SQL. It will download the files and the personalization from here, and it will get reflected at the endpoint. Okay. Now the consoles will be installed here. You can install the consoles on any machine, okay? Because when you open up the console, it will ask you where you want to connect. At that point of time, you can either mention WIP, you can either mention the management server. But normally, when we install it, we install this particular consoles in the servers as well. Like in Citrix, you have the controller. You install the studio over there itself. Right. However, you can access the studio from different machines. You just need to mention the server name, right? So similar way, you can do it here as well with the management and the personalization servers. Yeah.
So in the load balancing tier, so when
Mhm.
we have multiple whatever the MC servers or PS servers only, we can configure. If we have one, right, this load balancing concept is not required, right? Normally. So if you have multiple infrastructures or MC servers or PS servers only, it will be load balanced, that right, based on the request, which on load based on the load balancing algorithm, like least round robin, something like that method.
Yes, it depends on the WIP how you have configured. If you have configured in the round robin, it will go in the round robin for all the binded servers over there. Okay.
So is
Now,
it mandatory to configure that load
no,
balancing? Because I have
no,
a
no,
see
it's not
clients like
mandatory.
State Street and all, they have multiple infrastructure tier servers and all, MC servers, PS server. Suppose
Yes.
if I have only one or two, one MC server and one PS server, I have very low, means that is not required, right? Usually.
It's not necessary that you configured WIP. In fact, let me give you a very simple thing. In State Street, they have hundreds of servers and they do not have a WIP.
How the load balancing will take place then? The request and all.
Yes. Yeah. So there are means there is a how it does the management console. It has the ability when you define all the servers over there. It has the ability to load balance it within itself. Suppose
Okay.
you have 10 servers over. So what will happen is it will connect the first server. If the second user comes in, it will connect the second server from the third. So communication will happen on its own with all the 10 servers. It will differentiate the load balancing. It has the ability.
So there probably they will be in some cluster kind of an environment then.
Yes, there are different clusters. There are multiple clusters in State Street. It's a huge environment, hundreds of servers over there. And you have the only problem with those is that when you are doing some sort of upgrade, you're doing some sort of thing, then you have to configure each and everything. Means in a for every server you have to go and define the things over there in the consoles. That is only the problem in this when you do it without whip. If you do it with whip, it's very simple, right? You just change the whip and you are done with it. Do any, you want to unbind a server, go ahead and bind it from the whip, it will still work. But with this state street, you do not have a whip, and it's not mandatory as well. So that's why I don't think that they're using it because of that. Okay.
So Krishnan, just I'm trying to compare Citrix load balancing. Like server will get automatically load balanced when it will come under delivery group, right?
Yes.
So is there anything, any sort of, so that I can correlate Ivanti?
Yes, it's a similar thing. That's the one that you said is similar thing. It will auto balance it itself. If you do not have a
Okay.
whip, it will auto balance itself.